What's up, guys? One of the most requested companies that I check out because I've been so into resistance bands, a board, and a footplate type setups has been Harambe. So in this video, I'm interviewing the owner, Khalid, who put together this great system, also great quality products. We're going to talk specifically about his brand, the products, the formulation, what separates them apart from the competition. I will definitely be reviewing these things in more detail, specifically their new T-plate, which is a smaller foot plate. I tend to kind of like these a bit more, smaller dimensions that is, and also their T-bar, kind of a new version of this. So I'll get into that. He was gracious enough to send these to me, and according to him, this is maybe the first one I think he sent out of this new foot plate. So these are up for pre-order right now. Shameless plug, you guys can save 10% off anything Harambe using my discount code or promo code, Sliding Bench Trainer. And also we'll be talking a little bit about what separates his bands apart from the competition, because that was also pretty interesting. But stay tuned for that detailed review later on this channel. But let's jump into that video. Timestamps are down below. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. All right, so I'm here with Khalid, and we're going to jump right into it with a few questions. I know a lot of these are ones you guys have asked me, and I'm just going to say, finally, I have him on here talking to you guys. You guys have asked me for many months. Check out the Harambe System, comment on it. Talk to Khalid himself, ask him questions, and I'm like, I will get to it, and now that time is here. So we're going to see a bunch of Harambe stuff in the future in the channel. So we're going to ask him some of the questions I hear from you guys quite often. So first off, just tell us a little bit just about you and just the Harambe company, how it came to fruition.
So it's interesting. I started as in college, I was an artist, and I switched to mathematics early on, pure mathematics. I had some background in computer science, but I pursued a career in mathematics, and I had a somewhat successful career in mathematics. I'm now a tenured associate mathematics professor at the City University of New York. And during grad school, my mom had breast cancer, and I took care of her for a year, and she's recovered. She's in remission now. But that really changed me. That made fitness a big priority for me, because one thing the doctors told me is that she worked out and ate well, that would really help. And I really took that seriously, and I learned a lot about fitness doing that. And it's interesting because like before then, mathematics was my one thing. I was just so passionate about it. But then fitness started becoming a passion then, especially seeing how it helps people. I mean, I just really like that feeling of helping people. And it was kind of interesting. Fitness to me was this thing that like everyone cares about, brings everyone together. I like that. It's this community of everyone can agree that fitness is a thing that we all care about.
I'm laughing relatively because I've seen it divisive too. I'm sure you have. But
yeah,
when it's used properly, yeah.
Oh yeah.
You'll debate and get in arguments on it, because fitness can become a religion really quickly to people about what's the best way of doing something. Yeah, that's what I meant by it.
People get very, 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 very passionate about it. So I got really passionate about fitness, but it wasn't until recently, like about 4 years ago, that like during COVID, I had a son, and I decided I wanted to be a buff dad for him, like a role model that works out. And I started getting into bodybuilding, and I tried a bunch of home gym solutions. I was limited with space because I lived in a single 1-bedroom apartment. And I couldn't find something that worked for me. So I ended up making something that worked for me, and that's Harambe System equipment. And I started these Facebook groups with the idea of bringing people together to share their fitness journeys and to motivate each other to continue working out. Accountability is such a big thing. It really helped me having these groups. So I wanted to share that with other people. And, I had some close friends. I had this group of friends that we just posted our workouts in our chat together, and they saw this equipment and they wanted some, and they told other people about it. And the next thing I know, I'm like strolling out on my son's stroller, like 10 bars a day that I packed myself. It was funny at the time, like it was a UPS that was 4 blocks away. And I discovered a year after that that you could ship stuff at Staples, which is across the street.
Oh, geez.
It's like hundreds of pounds of equipment that I was like dragging. But it ended up being such a blessing though, because one day when I was rolling the cars out, some guy stopped me and he's like, "Do you need help with that?" And I was like, "No, it's okay. I've been doing this every day." And he's like, "I know you've been doing this every day, but I don't mean just rolling them. I mean, I have a factory. Maybe we could help you make those.
Oh,
And
nice.
my first takeoff into manufacturing. And
Wow, that's really cool. Now I have
yeah, it
to
was so
ask,
funny.
interject here. We talked about it already, but just everybody else is kind of thinking about it. So obviously the Harambe system setup is one of these band board footplate setups that people have been watching my channel. I've really fallen in love with. I think they're just a really simplistic tool that just does a lot better way of training resistance bands, in my opinion, compared to like tubes and racking stuff up on walls. I think the efficiency to it is great. How influenced were you from? I've already covered this many times in the channel, so it's kind of an elephant in the room. I'm sure people will ask from say the X3 bar system or any other system that maybe was out there prior, and maybe how is your system unique or different?
The main difference is the sling and pulley system, which is a patent. We have a utility patent on that. Uh, it's so the way in which covers how the band attaches to the bar. So a lot of other band bar systems, including the X3, either attach via hooks on the bar or by carabiners. Um, Whereas Harambe's system has these slings that loop into pulleys. And the slings attach to the bar with ropes. And this has a couple of immediate advantages. One thing is, a hook is a rigid attachment to a bar that comes off the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put force on the hook in any direction, you end up having this torque that puts force on the components of the bar. And typically you want the hooks to be free spinning, and there's something attaching those hooks to the bar, sometimes like a washer, bearings of some sort. And if you put torque on that, that ends up one thing, might prematurely wear the attachment because you're putting weird torque on it, like pretty hard torque if the hook is off the bar. The second thing is that torque can cause, if you have something like a nylon bearing, that can cause a lot of compression of the nylon. And so when you get really heavy, it actually causes a gripping phenomena. And so you get a jerk at high loads. And this can cause problems with, say, deadlifts. You're like lifting up and then it jerks out. It kind of surprises you when it rolls out. And so you might lose the bar at heavy loads. This also can happen during bench press. You're pressing and it jerks. And then it can actually, with bench press, it can snap out. And this, actually, I've injured my thumbs this way, not with my equipment, with using a bar that has a hooked system. Can like pull your thumbs back and as it pops out and can damage. I mean, if you're pushing something with like 300 pounds, that's a lot to put on your thumbs. It can damage your hands. So that like jerking is a problem. Whereas the sling and pulley system, because the ropes like bend over a pulley that's very close to the bar, it actually puts very little torque on the components of the bar, which means that you don't get that jerking feeling. And actually, if you have the smooth spin even under heavy loads. So there's that advantage. It feels more like a barbell with free weights, which unlike a lot of probably competitors, I actually think free weights are great. And part of what I wanted to do was to recreate the effectiveness of free weights with something that's very compact. And not having weird jerking was something that a lot of, pretty much any barbell has a very smooth spin. So I wanted that in something that I invented. So there's that advantage. You have very smooth spin. People say buttery smooth spin. I didn't first say that. It was someone else, a customer who tried it. They're just like, oh my God, it's buttery smooth spin. You have to try it. You just like pick it up and you feel just so smooth. So that's one advantage. The second advantage is that the sling completely opens up very easily. So you can load a lot of bands or big bands very easily. It's not a rigid thing that you have to stuff the bands into. So you can get them in there, you can get them even sitting like very quickly. So I like that. For me, that's very nice. You just pop it open. You can put like 3 or 4 big bands in there, stack them.
How is that to slipping the bands in and out with the sling? Because I know that's the problem with carabiners is like, well, the hook is great because I can just go bam, bam, you're done. But that little extra step of like carabiners and slipping them off, like that.
Oh yeah, doing that thing.
Yeah.
And typically carabiners have very sharp attachment there, so you have to be careful. You're not.
Even the twist ones too. Like I got to twist them off. I mean, it's not that big a deal, but some carabiners are really tight. So I guess with this, how easy is it to kind of throw the?
So here you have a sling on a bar.
Yeah.
See
Awesome.
that?
Yeah.
And you put it on top and you're set.
So simple
So
enough.
the nice thing is that, yeah, okay, if you have a hook thing and the band is just the right size, you can just slip it in the opening.
Right.
Like the benefit of this is that if you have a huge band, multiple bands, it's just as easy as what I just did. Like that's
That's true. Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome.
it's just as easy for all of them. And then you can stack them, move them around. See, it doesn't stick. Like especially with big bands, there's a lot of space here.
Now, since we're on with functionality point, something that when people ask me in the questions, like, well, have you tried Harambe? I'm like, yeah, I'm for sure going to want to check it out and try it. But a concern with mine, one was the extra step of like, well, the taking the stuff off. But then the idea is, well, I got to buy these extra, ropes and the sling. And I guess I know you have on the website that those last a certain number of years, but I mean, I guess from a practical standpoint, maybe it's not that big of a deal. But I mean, it's that extra step with those extra things. Will those last a long time relatively, or is that just more of like a precaution about you got to replace them every 5 years? So I guess replacing those parts out.
Oh, right. So that's a great question. So it's this kind of rope. So this is custom made rope that we make ourselves, but it's used in naval applications to
Okay.
lift boats and
Okay.
to
Wow.
lift things overhead over people. So the idea, if it breaks, it might cause death and injury.
Yeah.
And they typically have like 1 to safety factor 5 to 10, depending on how severe. Like if it's you risk death, then you want a safety factor of 10. If it were to fail, that people would die. I mean, I built this all to have a safety factor of 10. So like I over-engineer everything. And in naval applications, this kind of rope typically lasts at least, they recommend replacing it every 5 years, 3 to 5 years in naval applications. So
Right.
naval applications are out in where you're over salt water, like moving boats. You have like all of the elements out there. This is a home gym solution. You don't expect, you're not leaving this out in the dock or,
So for the
have
average person, I know you're
cars
thinking,
going over it.
I know you're thinking about total safety, but for the average person, I would assume, and I'm just thinking just basic human behavior. Most people aren't going to use some things as consistently as maybe as they should, but the average person, I think probably that could last them many, many, many years, likely. But I know the precaution is replace it every 5 years if you're using it consistently to be safe.
Yeah. So the reason for that is because it's just, and it's funny. Over time, I keep increasing that. I mean, theoretically, this should last like 10 to 20 years
Right.
at least. And I say theoretically because if you look at data, they just don't have more data than that. And I don't, and I'm safe with recommending 3 to 5 years because that's how much time I've seen it just be super strong under intense loads. And these are tests where, I have very, very strong people lifting with this thing, actually like pushing it to near its limits, which most people don't. But
I think that's good though, because
yeah.
people hear that, because that would be if I was just a general consumer and I'm looking, okay, which one should I get? The extra stuff, like, I really don't want to deal with. I got to replace it, But I know you do it for safety reasons. I don't know if you had that in there or not, that explanation you said. But if I kind of knew, okay, yeah, that's more of a safety precaution. I get 10, 20 years out of this. Okay, it's not a big deal. I think hearing that from you, I think might ease some people's apprehension about replacing
Yeah,
stuff.
it's extremely. I mean, UHMW is an incredibly resilient material. I mean, I would put it up there with say aluminum, which a lot of competing bars actually are made out of aluminum, and
Okay.
and then when the whole bar is made out of aluminum and it's going to crack in a few years, because aluminum is not like stainless steel. I don't, probably people don't know this, but there's something
No.
called the endurance limit. So essentially, if you only put so much force on stainless steel, it's an amazing material. It will never break. Like stainless steel will crystallize. In fact, if you really push stainless steel, it gets stronger. It's sort of in the crystalline, it starts crystallizing its structure and it becomes stronger. It's really
And then
cool.
are your products made in the USA? That was something else I was trying to
Oh,
find on
yeah.
the website, and I don't know if someone said that. I'm like, I don't know if they were, because I feel like it'd be up there. But I know you said earlier that some things were at least.
Yeah, we're in a transition phase. That's what we don't have that listed. So all of our platforms are 100% made in USA.
Okay, awesome.
And everything that we sell is assembled in the USA.
Okay,
And I design everything that we sell.
okay.
The bar, I'm steadily moving manufacturing of the bars, the ropes, and the rods to overseas.
Hmm.
So the bars are, they're right now, I think they're mostly made in USA, so
Hmm.
about 50%, but I'm steadily moving it overseas.
Cool.
It just the quality is better. The quality of manufacturers that I've found have been better. It's not you can it's not the country that where things come from. It's the quality of the manufacturers. I mean, we have I'm signing contracts with manufacturers that make parts for Tesla. So
Okay,
they're
awesome.
they're just amazing. I mean, the samples that they've showed me are incredible. And they're managed. We'd manage them and quality control them the same way. But yeah, part of at the beginning was I really wanted to try to keep all my manufacturing in the USA,
Hmm.
but I wasn't able to do that. I couldn't find manufacturers that could reach the quality that I wanted consistently.
Hmm.
Some of the manufacturers that I have here, like I mean, it was great having it here. There's benefits to manufacturing in the USA as a company because you don't have as long lead times, shipping and stuff. It reject so many batches from manufacturers here because the quality just wasn't up to standards.
Really briefly, what are some things you might see just out of curiosity, but of the all crazy
Of the
details?
quality.
Yeah, just some
Mhm.
little minor
It's
things.
funny, a lot of when I first started, a lot of manufacturers told me don't ever do manufacturing overseas. They'll say like, because then you'll get parts that are not the right size. You'll
Right.
get parts that look very damaged, that are very different than your drawing. There'll be huge delays. Like all these issues were described to me, and it was scary. And I didn't want to do that. But then I had all those issues here with manufacturers here. And it's really just I'm a small company, like huge manufacturers are not necessarily going to open their arms to me. They're not looking to make like
Right.
1 to 10,000
Yeah.
pieces. Like here, the big companies want to make like 10 to 100,000 pieces,
Yeah.
which is just we're a small family owned company.
Right.
We don't have the capital for that yet.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think people appreciate? I think that's awesome to kind of share that. Kind of a little bit of the training, and you can get more in the programming. But first thing I want to just say or ask, because I think this is a question on people's minds, and the systems are so simplistic and awesome. Just I love them. A question people, I think the consumer's mind is like, well, can I really use this thing as my sole form of fitness? And the question is for you is like, is this kind of what you've more or less been sticking to? Do you do some other things as far as like resistance training? You might outside of like cardio or anything else, but as far as resistance training, do you kind of more or less still kind of stick to this primarily? And do you think someone could be doing this primarily long term, like their own form? Not saying the most ideal, but just like they could. And just what are some experiences or things you've heard from customers?
oh, that's a great question. So I think one thing that separates Harambe System from other companies is that I've exclusively used the product for my bodybuilding. So this
Which I gotta say was awesome. You got great pictures on there. I don't want to interject, but
Oh,
yeah,
really? Oh,
no,
thanks.
yeah, no, you're in awesome shape. You look great. And I think what's great about this system and even just you applying it and anyone else who's applying, getting results is just showing that you don't need, and that's the kind of thing in my channel I'm trying to show is you don't need crazy all this stuff. It's good, more toys to kind of play around with, but you can do a lot of damage if you're consistent and nutrition's on point, whatever, that you don't need to go to this gigantic gym to get these impressive results. I think if people saw you, they would be like, wow, I will take that for sure. So I think I just want to say that.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, staying consistent with diet and training. Also, I have a fantastic couple of friends that keep me accountable and kind of train me because when I started, I knew nothing about bodybuilding. I'm a mathematician, and they showed me the ropes, like told me what I needed to do to gain muscle, guided me through a bulking phase and a cutting phase. Um, I just haven't had that much success with just maintaining my weight and gaining muscle. The bulking phase was like really fantastic. The gains from that were great. Essentially, just applying. I mean, one thing that I saw a lot was that companies that sell something that's like different than weights would have their own way of training that they would say is like what you have to do to make that successful. And it was kind of I tried a lot of things that didn't quite work. I felt like I wasted a year and what it came down to was like all of the things that we learned from weights, like that volume is important, that bulking is important. that sticking to core lifts is important, and not just changing your training all the time. But that within reason. I mean, some people, it depends what that means. You got to like stick to something for a few weeks to like see if it works or not. And progressive overload, like, and just taking time.
And so you've been still just kind of using your system predominantly.
That's all I use. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's not that I don't want to use other things. I mean, occasionally it's like it'd be maybe fun to do something different, but I do find at this point, and especially during the last 3 years, that I feel this responsibility to show people that the equipment works and to portray a reasonable, because, and I think part of why it was funny, because, at the start of the company, I actually hired models, like right at the beginning. And so the website front wasn't me, it was these models. And I wasn't in as good shape back then. I was still training, and my sales weren't that great. But then after, I used the equipment for a long time, then I did like a 9-month, like really serious bulk. And then I cut for about 10 to 12 weeks. Cutting is super fast. Like that's amazing that 10-week transformations are like insane. But it was all like almost a year of work, but just for that, just to cut the fat. But then, I got these like photos taken, and, I just like found someone with a nice camera and like just went out in the park and took these photos. I lived in New York City.
What was that like too? I see those photos. I'm like, was that, I had to ask this, was it embarrassing, or were you like, it looks like you're in just an open crowd and just started whipped out that bar and just started, is that basically what happened?
It was, yeah. I was just out there with a guy with a camera, and it was actually the dead of winter.
I was saying, it looks cold.
It was freezing. Everyone else was wearing jackets. I was freezing. It was very difficult. But compared to the other things I had to do for this company, it was pretty mild. So I did it. I needed the photos.
So is it a matter of like how long would it take?
Actually, a lot of people talked to me about the equipment. I sold a few systems, and that was like the first time I ever in person talked to people.
That's awesome.
It was nice.
That's so awesome.
But then, and then I changed the like website photos to very close to what it looks like right now, and my sales just skyrocketed. Because, and I think the idea was just, you saw this like normal looking guy with like reasonable results.
Yeah.
And that's, this is what can happen. And then people are like, oh, I might be able, that's fine. That looks okay. That's believable.
Well, I like how you emphasize the programming and how you followed. Someone might follow a different approach, but you did like I shouldn't say stereotypical, the classical, bulking and cutting system that worked for you. What I wanted to kind of keep touching on before I forget is, and this might be what you were alluding to, some systems, and I'll say even with resistance band in general, some people are promoting the whole the high intensity, kind of just doing very low volume, high intensity, like 1 or 2 sets or so. It sounded like you said the volume kind of worked. And even in the fitness culture, this is a very debatable, this is one of those topics I said in the beginning, can divide people right away. But did you find personally that, at least for you personally, and I speak to everybody, that the more volume, consistency, maybe more frequent sets, I guess, what would you do differently when you started messing around with these systems with your own thing that you felt made some good results?
Oh, volume is definitely important. I think having enough volume, and what that means is individual. Because volume, like anything else, like the amount of weight you lift, it's all a matter of progressive overload. Like gradually over time, you can increase volume. I think it's kind of interesting. I think there might be a point, you start increase. I think it's important. Easy answer is, I think volume is very important. I think that the Menser style training of 1 set to failure is not as is, at least in what I've seen, is not as effective for building muscle. And there is a lot of data, I think, out there now confirming that. They've done these randomized controlled trials on people, and to the best of my knowledge, it seems like all the data points towards like more volume is better.
But even for you individually, it sounded like you kind of tried that with the bands and it wasn't really working, and then you started doing a little bit more. And I'm just to interject really quick, is that I did something with the I sell like a $5 bar system, whatever program, not to plug that. What I did in that though was I had a lot of volume, and there were times where I say, like, when I did that for 5 sets, I feel great, but if I do that too much, like, you'll feel that and you won't feel too good after a while. But I also know if I do 1 set sometimes, I'm kind of holding myself short, and that's maybe not enough. So finding that balance, I think, was key. But it's tempting when you hear things with band and people are very maybe zealous about just doing all out one set's all you need and that's it. But so is that something you were trying initially?
I did, yeah. And there's also, I mean, it's a little, just like really emphasizing the one set to full failure kind of mentality can be a little dangerous. I mean, I don't want to say dangerous, but it's a little dangerous, right? Because you're having people just like really like maybe who don't really like don't have that much instruction doing something like this. You're probably more likely to pull something, maybe get some like tension migraines. So I mean, it's a little risky, and even if like all things equal, both of them yield similar results. If you're just going within 1 to 2 reps of failure, but you're doing more volume, and you're getting the same results, it's probably safer than like going all out.
What does your typical schedule look like now?
From what I can see, it's actually much better to do the volume. And for me, in my personal experience, when I did one set to failure, I really didn't gain that much muscle.
Really? Okay.
I had to do multiple sets to gain muscle. Like I tried it for like 8 to 12 weeks. And I feel like everyone should do this. You should be a scientist with your own body. And I'm sure you recommend this too. You know more about this than I do. But yeah, it's like and to do it over big stretches, at least 6 weeks, but like 6 to 12 weeks even, and then see how your progress is. Like, how is your diet? Are you gaining weight? And how does the mirror tests look after 8 to 12 weeks? Take photos before and after, see if there's improvement. So it's trying all these things. One set to failure for me is, I mean, it does like kind of keep me in shape. I don't think I lost muscle doing it. But I don't feel like I really saw any noticeable differences compared to the doing volume. I actually gained pounds of muscle.
So what does that look like now for you? What's a typical week using your setup?
Oh, that's a good question. So I follow something called the Harambe split. And
Nice.
so I mentioned these 2 guys that like guide my training. There's Christopher Jude and John Farrow. Just kind of interesting. For a while, I've never met them because I met them when I first started online, like during the COVID thing, when I started bodybuilding. And they helped me with programming a lot. And so one thing that came out of our collaboration is something called the Harambe split. And that's what I follow right now. It's a combination of a push-pull legs routine and so push-pull legs routine and the bro split.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like this combo thing. I initially I really liked the push-pull legs routine. Like I followed that where you do like 3 sets per session per body part. Mm-hmm. Based on like the push-pull leg thing. But Harambe is this combination of those two where you're basically doing like full push workout days, but then you have an emphasis. So you have like a shoulder and tricep emphasis, or a leg emphasis, or chest emphasis. So it's like each day is broken up into the bro split, but then you're also doing the other ones, but you have lower volume. So so the cool thing about this is that you have this, you're sort of, instead of saying, oh, one thing works better than anything else, this programming just has everything. So you're doing one set to failure for like the accessory movements, which mostly, and one set to failure is great for building a pump. And it's mostly so that you always feel like you're pumped. And like, it's
always
great
nice
feeling. Like I just like feeling pumped all the time. So this like programming, you feel pumped all the time, but then you're also like building muscle because there's like a lot of volume. You're hitting like, so if it's a chest emphasis, you're hitting chest with anywhere between 5 and 10 sets in that day.
Okay, wow.
Pretty hard. Depending on.
And how many days per week? How many times you hit that body part per week? Is it twice per week?
I work 6 days a week.
Okay.
Monday is chest day.
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, just rattle it off, and people will probably.
I'll just say it. Yeah. And it's also this programming is so we have a Harambe System Facebook group.
Okay.
This program is available for free in the files section. Anyone can go there and just find the Harambe program.
Okay. Awesome.
I just have it for free. I don't sell it or anything. And it's something you can use. I mean, there's people that just do it with weights, and it's just as effective. You can use bands. There's people in our group that incorporate both bands and weights. Some people just do calisthenics, but they still use some somewhat similar programming. Not to say that it's the best programming, but for me, it's the program that's works the best for me based on my schedule and my recovery. I now have another newborn with 2 kids.
Oh, congratulations!
So that much. So I mean, there's a limit. I feel like if all things are equal, you can like keep pushing this volume limit, right? And just keep building it up. And I think, and the data shows that the more volume you do, you probably are going to get better gains, but then you have to have the recovery, and then you have to have those deloads times because like, you just build volume forever, you're going to crash. But
And I think sometimes your body just tells you that, like, this is a busy time, take a couple of days off or whatever. So just really quickly, can you just rattle that off really quick? Just the
what
typical
the
week
split
schedule,
is?
just the week schedule, what you would do. Like, so Monday, I would do this, Tuesday, this really
Oh,
quick.
sure. Yeah. So Monday I do chest day. So it's a chest push day. So I do like the emphasis is on the chest. Tuesday is back pull day. The emphasis is on the posterior chain, back, lats, glutes, and hamstrings. And then Wednesday is shoulders and triceps. So focus on the shoulders and triceps, along with other, and those are the emphasis. But I still do the other push movements, just lower volume. That's Wednesday. And then Thursday, which is today, is bicep day, bicep pull
Nice.
day,
Okay.
which is really fun. I do a
Yeah.
lot of bicep stuff. I prefer, I don't, drag curls are okay, but I prefer doing like a normal front
Me
curl,
too.
which I call a Pharaoh curl, which is named after my coach,
Okay.
because he popularized that. There was this like big trend to that regular curls, people saying regular curls are not effective, which is kind of interesting, saying that drag curls are more effective.
Yeah, I would never say that right away. Yeah, I
But
never liked. Yeah.
he pushed like normal curls, and now
Yeah.
there's more data showing the normal curls are definitely more effective. There's some data coming out, but I mean, I definitely noticed that I got better development doing curls this way. But I also really like wide curls, so I work those in now. These
Okay.
wide curls, it feels really like it hits like a different part of the bicep. Like
Yeah.
and I get a little bit more of a squeeze. So I work them both in. My main ones I do the normal regular width, and then I've been doing these as finishers. It feels great.
Yeah.
So that's bicep curl day, and then Friday is leg push day, which is always devastating.
Yeah. So it sounds like you only hit the body part just once a week. Each body part
Yeah. So
once. Okay.
I really focus the body part once per week, but all the body parts are being hit, right?
Right.
Because
Relatively.
they're
Yeah.
also being hit on push day.
Okay. That's right. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But
Okay.
not to full failure or anything. I mean, when I
Right.
do these accessory movements, I get close to failure, but I don't like really push that hard. But I have them to the point where they feel pumped. But then so I have leg, and then Saturday is like a light pull day, but I do hit calves hard on Saturday. So I call it a calf pull day. So I hit the calves with multiple sets I basically just apply the same idea to every muscle, progressive overload. I don't treat any muscles
Are you
special.
big into tracking, or do you kind of go a little bit off of feeling? I know you have a program, but do you really emphasize? I know you guys have an app too, but are you emphasizing like really being anal about tracking the band color and the X amount of reps, or is it a little bit more feeling, kind of a general conceptual approach to it?
I'm pretty strict about tracking myself.
Okay.
Not to say it's better or different. It works for me. I really like. So I have the Harambe Fit is the name of the application, and it tells you how you did the previous week. And I don't like track my like lifetime PRs or anything, but I do always try to beat what I did last week, even if it's just by a little bit, or at least match it.
Okay.
So I'm always like for everything. So this app like tells you what you did the previous week. It says you use this band combination, you use this. So one thing I forgot to mention was that there's just these things called spacers that can shorten the rope just a little bit.
Oh, nice. That's
increases
nice.
tension by about 3%. So I track how many spacers you're using. Yeah, the system brings, because like one drawback for band systems was that you don't really have progressive overload because you can't take the small steps. But by using ropes and spacers and things, you get that now. You get all these steps that you can take to increase tension. So I always look at what I did last week, and if I beat my range, so I usually have some range, like whatever it is of the movement. It varies, like different movements have different ranges. Maybe it's 5 reps to 8 reps. If I beat that 8 reps and I feel very confident that I could beat it again, I like up the tension.
Awesome.
And then I just try to do better like every week. That's all.
Maybe this is a question I get so often with any of these types of things, and I try to defend it as much as I can, because I think when you do try and price, even though it's relatively simplistic setup, when you do kind of just price it out yourself, I think you're going to make some compromises, and I think you can DIY barbells, dumbbells as much as you want. When people might look at your system in this setup, they might be like, "Wow, okay, that's all." For the big set, I think it's like $700 something for the small T-bar. What's the one? What's the main one? K-bar? K-bar is the big one.
K-bar, yeah.
Yeah. That big whole system, complete with all the bands, is like $700. And then the T-bar, the smaller whole system, is around $549. How would you tell someone, like, that just seems like a ripoff? It seems like too much money. I know we're not saying express your margins and stuff like that, but I mean, you got to obviously make a profit. But how would you just answer that to somebody?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first, I'd say, it's a pretty great deal if you look at it compared to the competition. Like let's say you wanted to buy a quality front squat rack with bench and a barbell, and if the barbell is stainless steel, I mean that could set you back $2,000 to $5,000 easy. So in that sense, it's a more reasonable price point than that. Second, uh, another defense of the price is that the material itself is very expensive. If you actually tried to just buy a stainless steel bar, you'll see that it's very expensive. It's hundreds of dollars. It's not you can't get, stainless steel is expensive, and that's something about this equipment. The price reflects the quality of materials. Like if you're going to just try to make it yourself, if you want to use the same materials, you're going to see that it's very expensive to just make one of these.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that value there. The second thing is, of course, when you buy a product like this, it comes with a company, and this company has overhead. But part of that overhead is really a benefit to the consumer. We have great customer service. I spend a lot of time on our customer service. It's like the last thing I want to outsource. And I don't pretend to be another person in customer service. You email support, sometimes it will be me. I'll assign
Yeah.
it Khalid.
Yeah.
That's that's like the last thing I want to give up, because it's just so important to me, the customer service. And of course, that's time, and that's also kind of built into the price. But it's very valuable. You basically go on the website, you chat, you're going to get like someone talking to you that knows their stuff. A second defense of the price is the design. We have a patented system, and we have more pending patents upcoming. There's a lot of research that goes into making this bar safe and effective, and that takes a lot of time, and so that's built into it too. And I think the design is great and worth it. But of course, that's something that people have to think about. If the system probably costs as much as like a medium tier phone, but it has the potential of really changing your life. And our market is not, we're not the cheapest thing out there. You can buy the cheapest stuff. It might work for you, it might not, but Harambe System, we just aim to make the highest quality stuff.
Awesome.
So that's, I'm not going to say that, so our price point's high because we use really high quality materials. We're not trying to make just the cheapest thing.
And maybe final question would just be who, just based on your experience and the customers you've experienced and just kind of setting people up for success, who do you think would best benefit from using a system like that, so they're not kind of on the fence and they get like, this isn't for me, and get buyer's remorse or something? Who is that ideal customer that you feel like when they buy this product, this kind of fits that demographic or that person? I don't know if
that's really interesting. I mean, I'd like to think anyone should be strength training.
Right.
But if you already have like a full gym of weights and stuff and it works for you, that's great. I'm not going to, one thing that's, Harambe System, our core values, honesty, innovation, and health. And I think this is what really separates Harambe System from any other company, is that we have these core values. And in every decision we make, even, I tell my employees those core values are there. You can see this in our advertising. We don't run huge sales because we have transparent pricing. And I'm not going to sit here and say bands are better than weights. It's something I've never said that in my advertising. I will never say that. I think free weights are great, and if they work for you, that's awesome. There are some there's some nice benefits to someone that uses free weights. There have been studies showing that variable resistance can help you break plateaus. So, I mean, there's that advantage. If you want to add something to your gym, Harambe System could be a great way to add variable resistance to your gym, and it's super high quality. It's industrial quality. It's something that could be in like a high capacity gym. It would thrive in that. So you could add that to your gym, and you have some way of testing things. There's also the other advantage. If you just train alone, you can take things to failure or close to failure and not be worried about weights falling on you. You don't need like special grips or anything, like arms to like catch things, and you're not worried about stuff dropping on you because it's variable resistance, it's bands. If you let all the resistance go, and you typically can just like get out of movements very safely. So it's great for that, for someone that's a solo gym person. Someone that doesn't have that much time to go to the gym because you just want to work out at home, but don't have the space to dedicate an entire room to a squat rack. And you want something that really works, that has the tools and the community to help you grow. Harambe System work for you. It's kind of, I get this question a lot, and people are like, is there like a specific demographic that really works? And from all the customers I see, I mean, it's like people first starting their fitness training, like it works great for them. For the elderly, it works great. And for all in between, like college students who don't have much space that want to just work out, and when they want to work out while they're doing homework, you can do like sets, and then when you're resting, you can like do work. It's kind of anybody that wants a compact home gym solution and wants to build muscle, which we know is really important for your health. This system will work for you. So yeah, it's a hard.
Awesome. That's
it's so
great.
funny. I feel like I should know my demographic more, but every time I look at all the data, I'm just like, wow, it's just like everybody. Seems like everybody should be using this. It's hard though to get someone who doesn't want to work out to work out.
Well, that's true. That's
a main challenge. It's like people don't want to work out. It's hard.
Yeah, no, it is.
And I'm not going to, our company is not the kind of company that would say something like, this is only, you only need 10 minutes a day. You'll get the dream, workout of your dreams and the body that you want. It did not take me 10 minutes a day to get this way. I had to work really hard, and like my diet was on point, and like my training was on point. It's hard, but you can do minimal work to just stay healthy. Like you don't have to look like a bodybuilder to be healthy and to get all these gains of like basically reversing age. So there's like a minimum amount of work that you can do. And yeah, I feel like everybody could benefit from this. So
awesome.
And you can see this in like all my content that I make. I try to make motivational content. I want people who have the equipment to use it. So a lot of my content is to motivate people to continue working out. I don't want someone. I remember when I first was making the system, I was considering hiring an engineer to help me design it because I'd never designed anything before, like 3 years ago. And I remember talking to the engineer, and he was like using all of this wording and telling me how difficult it is to design something, that you have to do finite element analysis, you have to use these partial differential equations, simulate things, make sure that things don't break. And he was saying all these terms, and I was just like thinking to him, and I was like, he has no idea who I am, that I'm a mathematician. And it would have cost me $80,000 to hire him per product. but at the end of the conversation, I was like, wow, he just gave me an outline. I could do this myself. And I was able to just do it myself, and it saved me tons of, I wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise. Typically what you would do is either you hire someone that knows their stuff to design your equipment, or you get an intern from a college, like some intern that's free to design your equipment. But one of them is super expensive, will work. The other one, you have no idea if the equipment's going to break or not.
Well, the important thing is you're actually doing the work. So I think I talked to a lot of companies, and they'll admit like they're more mechanical engineer side of a product thing that works, but they don't really quite know if it will work or how to use it, best applications to use it. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, have tried something, and also obviously your educational background. Is there anything kind of in wrapping up that you want to just say as we kind of make a close here? You said a lot, but so far, a lot of good information.
I didn't say a lot. Check out our equipment at harambesystem.com. Join our Facebook group. Even if you don't buy our equipment, we have a great community. Harambe means bring people together, and that's what we're all about. So come join us, and it's a movement more than anything.
Awesome. So, thanks so much, Khalid, for your time.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Awesome.
You're making the time to do this. Thank you.
No problem.